Okay, so I think it's time to talk about this game. Finally, I think after about a month, it's been released for about a month now. Yeah, this game here, Octopath Traveler, an absolute gem on the Nintendo Switch. In my opinion, one of the best games on the Nintendo Switch. Just gives the Nintendo Switch even more prestige than it already has, because there is already so many games, great games on the Switch already. So I'll put that down. Now, Octopath Traveler, I've been playing this game probably solid, like, non-stop for about 3 weeks now. It is absolutely brilliant, and I believe it sets the bar for JRPGs, especially turn-based ones, you know? I think it absolutely captures how traditional JRPGs, turn-based ones, should be in the modern day. I'm not saying it's the only one. There is other ones. So you got Dragon Quest, of course, which is coming out in September. Dragon Quest 11, which looks absolutely amazing too, and I'll be playing the hell out of that when that comes out. So, automatically a really good year for JRPGs and RPGs for me in general. I tell you what, this year and the next year is going to be great. So many good games are coming out. Yeah, but Octopath Traveler is definitely amazing. You know. It has decent story. The story's... I apologize for that, damn. It has a decent story. You got 8 characters and they all have their individual story. Although, you know, not the most fleshed out. The characters don't have much interaction. Like, there's little banter that goes on, which is probably the more interesting part about the whole thing. And when you hear the character banter between each other, it's just text though. Very small amount of text. That's probably the most interesting because it actually like lets you know the opinions of each character based on their story or their character. So for example, you have Tressa the merchant, who has a certain opinion about Therian, who's a thief who steals everything, and she for some reason has some respect for him for stealing expensive items, being able to sell, although that's not the way she rolls. And you'd think Ulbrich, who is very strong about his opinion on things, where he has absolute honor and he fights completely fair, and he shows that he has some respect for Therian, who is a thief who does nothing but thieving, and that's pretty much all there is to that. But he shows that he has respect and he has a goal to achieve, and Ulbrich is happy to help him in his goal. And it goes like that with each character. They all have respect for each other, no matter how different of a character they are to each other or their principles to each other. So I think the character interaction, although it's incredibly weak, was the more interesting part about the whole story. And also each story for each character was fairly decent. You know, there's a couple of characters who are a bit boring, but in the end, it was pretty cool and epic show now. The boss battles, I think the boss battles are very awesome. Each boss like, there's so many bosses as well, so like that in of itself is a lot of content to itself, where you build your characters a certain way or a certain power. Each character can be any type of class they want. There's no bad class or bad way to build a character, which I love. Each boss is unique in their own way. They're not just carbon copy. Well, this does damage, this does damage, this does damage. No, they each have like a unique ability that will, for example, stop you from gaining stats and prevent you from. You'll lose your stats, and it'll prevent you from getting stat boosts for about 5 turns, and that can be a bit of a difficult 5 turns, but it's really cool because difficulty obviously. I love the difficulty. I think the difficulty is just good. Obviously, you can blow through the game later, because later you can really get some stupidly high damage. But, you know, however you want to play it is, of course, how you want to do it. You can play through the game low level. You can play through the game without equipping armor. There's certain accessories that you don't have to equip. You can cripple yourself if you want and have a whole different experience just because of the difficulty. So I would want to do that myself. I would want to handicap myself, even though I'm sort of against that whole thing of artificial difficulty. If you know what I'm talking about, making an artificial difficulty for yourself. It's not the same when the game should be offering a certain difficulty. This game obviously gives you a good difficulty in of itself. It depends on how you want to go about it. If you want to max out your characters in a certain way or have like a perfect setup, you'll probably get through the game enough, and it's still going to be like fairly difficult. So in terms of difficulty, the game is great. There's no difficulty settings, which I appreciate. I don't think any game should have a difficulty setting. I believe games, if you want the most difficult out of it, just have post-game or end-game stuff that is just hard and optional. That being said, there's a lot more. The gameplay turn-based, I think it works out great. There's so many crazy mechanics and different ways to set up each character. Every character has their own major class that you cannot change, and they have a subclass, which is pretty much the class you want to give it. So for example, Ulbrich, he's a warrior. You can turn him to be anything. You want him to be a cleric that can heal people, go ahead and do that. You want to make him a thief, go ahead and make him a thief. And you look at each subclass of each character, you think, well, this subclass is pretty lame, this one's pretty lame, this one's pretty lame. But if you look carefully and look further into the game, later on in the game, you'll think, wow, each of these classes can be useful. And that's the beauty of it. There's absolutely so many incredibly different ways that you can build each character. And that's probably what I love the most about it. You can make any character do what the hell you want, play how you want. And that's the beauty of it. The game isn't exactly open world, but there is a huge map to explore, and each town you go to is pretty cool to see, because there's so many things that you can do, new things that you can do in each town, like steal from everyone with Therian, and you can really steal some high level stuff fairly early on if you know where to go on your second playthrough, which is really cool, because I ended up stealing just about everything in the whole damn game. Now, as I'm making this video, I haven't exactly beaten every boss. I've played through my main character's story all the way, so I have gotten to the credits. But there is still post-game bosses to beat, which I will. And that probably will improve my rating of the game by itself. But since I don't want to leave it too late to talk about the game, because it's already been a month since it's been released, I think it's a good time to talk about it. And I've played enough to get a grasp of like everything that it has to offer. But yeah, the beauty of this game is that you can play how you want. Like, you can go straight to end game sort of difficulty level stuff. Also, in terms of classes, like there's like 4 like really high level bosses that give you the best classes in the game. And they're incredibly challenging, especially when I beat them at like level 35 or something. They're level 50 bosses. It was super accomplishing to beat them so early on. But I'll tell you what, it was incredibly rewarding, because they give the best rewards in the game, which are the extra subclasses, which are the best subclasses in the game. I don't know. I guess so most of it is positive. All I can say is that this sets the measuring bar for JRPGs in the future. I have a lot of hope for the development team that developed this game. Although it is small, it feels like they put so much effort into it. The only thing that was hindering the game from being, a top seller or anything was the graphics. I personally love the graphics, and they were obviously going for the graphic style that they went for. They could have made it a realistic looking HD game, but they didn't want to. And you know what? I'm really happy with what they did. I wouldn't want the game to change in any other way. And it gives me hope they could probably now... Square Enix have noticed that the game is doing successfully. I say that loosely, because Square Enix they really hate to embrace like the good things that happen in the industry and want to go to mobile, but that's just a COO thing, or you know what I'm talking about, how Square Enix roll right now. But yeah, like, I can see this development team making another game, which is going to be absolutely great. And I hope they embrace that. I hope they embrace this development team at Square Enix. Doesn't matter if it's exclusive, doesn't matter what is going on. I think they can produce absolute gold with this development team. And I hope they work on something else. And I hope other development teams and stuff from different companies sort of look at this game. Look at this beautiful game. And think, well, I want to make a game like this, and provide inspiration to make more games like this. So yeah, it's almost like reinventing the turn-based JRPGs, you know? And I could not be happier for what was produced out of this game. I thought it was going to be fairly average or whatever. Just an average sort of RPG that was, you know, below average. It was just standard. But no, it blew my expectations. Amazing. I could not ask for anything else, really. And there's something else I wanted to mention. And another wonderful thing about this game is that it's already sold about 1 million copies, and that's really good considering how this game wasn't even that big of a budget. If you think how big the development team was, not very big, it makes a lot of money. And I'm glad to see the game being successful and getting the recognition it deserves. Besides its niche genre and its niche audience, I'm really happy with how it's been received and appreciated. So that I can say congrats to the developers of this game. That being said, I guess this was sort of like a review. But yeah, I'm absolutely happy with this game. I'd probably give it a solid 8.5 out of 10. Like, it's really almost at that perfect marking. Seriously, it is so good. If you have a Switch, I recommend getting this game, because you'll have so much hours of content involved with it. And that being said, I'm going to end it off here. Make sure you like the video and also share it, which is incredibly important. Subscribe if you want more videos like this, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.